Joining us now, the Attorney General for the great state of Mississippi, Attorney General Lynn Fitch. General, good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Gerard. Great to be with you. Thank you for having me on today.
You bet. I know you got a busy schedule. We appreciate you taking some time to join us here on Middays. Wanted to discuss with you a new initiative called the Empowerment Projects coming out of your office, recently unveiled. Tell us about that.
Well, it's an exciting time and some areas that we should all be focusing on, and it's certainly a direct result of the opportunities that Dobbs gave us to move forward, and they're so impactful to everyone across the state. So the Empowerment Project is about a number of different very important areas. First and foremost, talking about and then actually putting into action quality, affordable, accessible child care. I mean, we certainly need that in our state, looking for ways to make that happen. Certainly those children need to be taken care of. They need to be in quality child care facilities. Some of the things that we've been doing are working certainly with our legislature to increase and expand the tax credit for employers that provide child care. Mm-hmm. We see that's a very positive move. Also, Gerard, to authorize a tax credit for certain child care expenses, and then also to expand the early learning collaboratives. Again, that is significant because these young children ultimately are going to be us. So what are we doing on the front end right now to get them prepared? And currently in Mississippi, it costs more to send an infant and a toddler to daycare for a year than it does to send one of our students to one of our wonderful colleges and universities. So we have to take a hard look at this, and we have to see how we can make a positive difference there. And then when you kind of pivot from that, you look at we must work on promoting workplace flexibility. And that is so key because, again, our young parents are there. They need the options, the flexibility. So hand-in-hand working with the legislature, we're working on a tax credit for the employers that would provide for paid leave for pregnancy, childbirth, adoption, and foster replacement. And then looking at paid maternity leave for employees, for state employees. And then three other big topic areas are streamlining and improving our foster care and adoption systems. I know this is something I've talked about. Too many children are in the system, and we've got to get them to loving homes as quickly as possible. Again, looking at tax credits there, working on a paternity registry, creating a foster parents bill of rights. And then as we look at another item, it's the enforcement of child support in our state. We've got to look at different ways that we can get the mothers to receive the dollars from, it's primarily the custodial parents receiving monies from the non-custodial parents, which is primarily the fathers. So looking at ways that we can help along there, getting child support arrearages to the mother, working on helping the fathers, looking at different ways we can provide child support for a child like after they have reached a majority, and then also for those that have disabilities. And then lastly, I would say the big ticket item is how we can support pregnant women. This is very key to moving forward as we look at how we implement a state program that helps our women across our state, how we can provide safe havens, the safe haven boxes and devices so that children can be safely put there. And then, again, as we did in the past, expanding the tax credit for pregnancy centers. So a lot of very, very important, but again, as I said, very impactful areas that we should all focus on.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate that, General. Great update. So I know that for the most part, the Department of Human Services is involved in ensuring that child support payments are made and that those responsible stay out of arrears, and often that involves garnishing their pay and so forth, which requires orders to do that. To what extent, my question is the Attorney General's office involved in this enforcement?
Well, that's a great question. So we do some of that, the criminal, and it's usually referred from Department of Human Services. So, yes, that is absolutely some of our responsibility. Okay. Again, but if you look at it from the very positive side, Gerard, if you've got non-custodial parents, the fathers primarily, if they're paying, that means they're investing in their child's life.
Sure.
And that is such a huge win-win to have that opportunity. And so certainly as we're working hand-in-hand with the department, we see some of those really hard cases, and we're very much trying to make a difference.
And especially important, is it not, General, in a state where, unfortunately, we have a high percentage of babies born out of wedlock?
That's true. And, if we really enforce our child support and the custodial parent knew to expect the dollars, if the father understood that he was going to be at least equally responsible, I think that changes the dynamics.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go in knowing that if you have a child, that you are going to be responsible, because, so for far too long we've seen that the mothers carry the burden of the financial responsibility and the economics hardship for these children.
Right. Just no consequences generally. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources to run down the deadbeat dads, as they are called, and we just don't have that.
Well, we don't, but I will say that, several years ago I had the honor of serving on the Republican Platform Committee, and we actually have that in the Republican platform right now, that fathers, both parents, but should be equally responsible for their child until they reach majority. Again, that is the right thing to do. That would change, like I said, not only our state, but across our country, and if we had the enforcement. And again, what an opportunity to have both parents investing in the child.
Yeah. So you mentioned something that I would ask you to elaborate on a bit, and that's this concept of a baby box. I see where I saw yesterday, I believe, the city of Long Beach, if I'm not mistaken, the first in the state to implement.
Isn't that exciting?
It's incredible.
To have that safe haven and to allow a place for a precious baby to be placed, to know that it's going to be secure and taken care of. We see too many times where, babies are abandoned, and this allows that mother to safely have her child put in a safe haven box, so that, again, they can be matched up with a loving family. So it is, again, an amazing opportunity. That actually happened. There are going to be a number of other locations that certainly first responders will be able to get to them. So accessibility is going to happen very quickly, and, again, gives them a great place to know that they are putting their child, and that baby's going to be safe.
And is it true that in Mississippi we do have some sort of a safe haven statute that protects the self-surrender of a baby?
Yes, we do. And actually it's in all states, again, protecting that child, that baby.
And what's the time period for that, General?
Well, as far time period,
where you're protected, where the safe haven applies, between, I guess, the time that you self-surrender from the time of birth.
Yes, so when they are putting the child in, then when they've been taken over, and so what we would like to see is, it's limited to 90 days. We believe that's a great number, again, to make the adjustment, the transition for that baby. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the point across that it's not a situation where a mother can just show up and deposit a child that's 1 year old for this purpose.
You're exactly right. Although, let me say, Gerard, if there's ever a situation and a parent wants to, we'd certainly like to see a child be dropped off to first responders, a police station, a hospital, anything like that, so that we could all certainly step in and provide the best care and treatment to that child.
Absolutely. Understand. Totally understand. Well, what about anything else that's happening, General, in the wake of the Dobbs case, which, of course, got escalated to the national stage here? Anything else going on in your office related to that? We got a break right here. I'm sorry, Lynn. We got a break right here. Can you hang on through the next segment? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
We got Attorney General Lynn Fitch on middays. We'll come back and we'll ask her to discuss what's going on in her office as it relates to the overturn of Roe v. Wade, which originated right here in the state of Mississippi. State of Mississippi, live from the Element Wealth Studios. We're visiting with Attorney General of Mississippi, Lynn Fitch. So, General, before we went to break, I was just wondering what it's been like around your office since this monumental decision handed down by the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, a decision from 1972. It's certainly got a lot of national attention. How's it changed the life of you and your staff?
Well, you're exactly right. It's been a monumental decision, certainly for the state of Mississippi, and here we got to champion that, but it's also been so important for our entire country. And we've been working really hard on next steps. You know, we immediately, after the decision, rolled right into what do we do next? Which is, in turn, what we've been talking about, some of the empowerment projects. That certainly was the opportunity that the court gave us to seize the moment and really try to empower women and to promote life. And most recently, we are very engaged in trying to extend Medicaid for new mothers for a full year. Look, Gerard, I think that's so important. These mothers are going through an interesting time. They are totally restructuring their body, being pregnant, and right now there are 35 states that have extended postpartum for an entire year. We certainly need to do that too. There are a lot of issues that come up, as we all know, after the birth of a child, and this is very key to helping these women in their next steps.
Well, in fact, you wrote an opinion piece which was published here locally, at least in the Clarion Ledger. I believe it published over the weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I read it, and you made the case for that. General, have you had any discussions with leadership in the legislature, with the governor, regarding this issue? As you know, the bill to do so, to extend postpartum Medicaid to a 12-month period from the present 60-day coverage period, passed the Senate, headed to the House. What do you think?
Well, I tell you, we've had great feedback. People are very interested in it. We certainly heard it back and talked to a lot of legislators and doctors and citizens from across the state. Everybody's very invested in this. Again, this is an important step for us. This is an important way to support our mothers. And then as you think about it, too, I mean, we're supporting them. We're helping their children. I mean, it's better for these mothers because this could help them because they might not have a steady income or they might not have the family support net, and they may not have the education or the job skills. And so if they've got this that can help in and provide access and be beneficial for their health care, again, that is just a tremendous win-win, and we should always step up and do this.
Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the House. I don't believe that Speaker of the House Philip Gunn supports this measure having passed the Senate. There were a few on the Republican side, I want to say it was 10 or 11, I believe, that voted against it. I guess we'll just have to see. And I have not heard the governor's position on this as well. Not sure.
Well, I'll tell you, we have to keep up this dialogue, though, Gerard. That's why it's so important to talk about it, to talk about the significance of how this would particularly support our mothers and our children. And again, like I said, there are over 35 states that have already adopted this. Many of those are Republican states. Many of them are our neighbors, like Alabama and Tennessee and Louisiana. They're right here because, again, they're in the same situation. They want to be supportive of their mothers and of those children that are coming into the world. And as Mississippians, we're very compassionate. We should, too, want to support the mothers and their children.
Yeah. Something I wanted to ask you about related to abortion and access to abortion. As you are likely aware, many large corporations, several of whom have a significant number of employees here in the state of Mississippi, they have expanded their employee policies to include coverage for an employee to travel from a state that does not allow abortion to a state that does, and they will even fund the procedure itself. Do you feel like that's something maybe the state legislature should act on? Is there a way that they could prohibit a private company from extending such benefits to those in our state?
Well, certainly that came into play. We've seen that come up numerous times, not only in our state but in other states with different corporations. But, actually the court said that would be okay.
Okay.
But they also said it should cover pregnancy, too.
I see.
And I think that is extremely important for us to realize that the babies should be equally as cared for as well.
Well, sure. I'm a little surprised to hear that that's not included in the standard minimum benefits that the federal government requires. But, yeah, surely makes sense. And we're seeing the states in the wake of the Dobbs decision, we're seeing the states really segregate out. I noted that in the state of Minnesota, the governor there signed legislature that dramatically increased access to abortion and even disallows or does not require, I should say, teachers from informing or minors from informing their parents if they're going to go submit to this procedure. Something crazy like that really surprised me.
Well, and it's unfortunate because we're seeing, different organizations, different state governments that, and certainly companies that just are reacting to politics.
Yeah.
And they really should be focusing on the things that are moving forward, like the maternity leave, the child care, things that add up to the whole for all of our respective states. And I think people have missed the point that, again, we're talking about supporting these women. We're talking about supporting their children because we all want a better future, a better day for our states.
Right. Absolutely. What else is happening at the Attorney General's office? And in particular, are there any suits that you're presently heavily involved in that also include other states?
Well, we do have a significant number of cases that are going on right now. One that's of importance for all of us. It's involving the insulin manufacturers.
Okay.
I think that is something that affects all of us. Everybody in this listening audience either has someone in their family or they have a loved one, or they know someone that has diabetes. So we have sued the manufacturers, the three manufacturers of insulin, and we have also sued the three largest pharmacy benefit managers. And here's why, Gerard, because it costs 1,000% more now for insulin for consumers to purchase than it did 10 years ago. And, we've got over 100,000 people here in the state of Mississippi that have diabetes. And, you just don't live. You have to have insulin. So there is a huge rally across our country, and there are 26 other states that are working with us. We are, again, leading the cause on this because, again, it affects so many people, and they don't have an alternative. It's not like you can do something different or you can switch to a different drug. Insulin is what you have to live. So we see that as an opportunity, again, to work with our other states and to bring a good solution where it should not be costly. We need to get it down where it's affordable insulin, and it should be very accessible because right now we're seeing so many people, Gerard, that either ration their insulin or they take expired insulin or they don't take it at all. And then we see them in our hospitals because now they're in recovery mode.
Right. Before we go here, what specific are you looking to accomplish with that, General?
Well, the most important issue here is to bring down the cost. It's a policy change to get the cost down for all Mississippians.
Okay.
You shouldn't be penalized, and nor should big companies be able to profit off of all of us who, shouldn't be suffering through, paying 1,000% more for insulin. And the other part is if we hold them accountable, it makes these companies be good citizens, which is what they should be, because insulin, again, is a lifeline.
I see. Is there anything that's come to your office, General, related to the medical marijuana situation in Mississippi? Of course, that law, brand new, that just going into production, selling medical cannabis. Anything that's come up that you've had to address?
Well, that's a good question as we're kind of moving into that, but not really, not yet. We, in our office with a number of partners, we have a cannabis working group, so we're always trying to stay on top of the issues, trying to anticipate areas that may need some address for us to address it or do research. So we're working on it, but so far, not many issues.
Gotcha. Always enjoy talking to you, General. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks a lot.
You too. Thank you so much for having me on.
You got it. Attorney General Lynn Fitch has been our guest on Middays. We're stepping aside for a break right here, right back in the Element Wealth studio.